Yay. Oh, today
Oh,
is such a gorgeous day. Welcome to the podcast. My gorgeous friend, my long-term friend who I have not seen for a long time. I'm sitting down today with the beautiful you, Anabel Kutay. You and I met as dancers in there, and I'm sitting here reading your incredible bio. You then, from incredible dancing career, I'm going to start backwards. Dance in Swan Lake, Dorian Gray, Play Without Words, Matthew Bourne's New Adventures, Jekyll and Hyde, McConey Company, Pinocchio, musicals, Sinatra, Guys and Dolls, Dirty Dancing, etc., etc. From there, you went into acting. In acting credits, just a few of them. Just going to go for a few of them. Lord of the Rings, Jingle Bell Heist, Hold the Dark, Youth, High Strong, Walking on Sunshine. And then from there, you decided, as if dancing, modeling, and acting wasn't enough already, you thought, oh, how about I do a little short film? So you created a short film called Doghouse, which won Best Horror Short at London Independent Film Festival, Special Commendation at Rumford Horror Festival, and Best Short Film at Purgatory Film Festival, amongst others, numerous others awards and festival selections. And then finally, to round it off, you thought, maybe I'll do a little debut feature film script as well. And this one is called Airband. And it won first prize at Flickers Rhode Island Film Festival, was a semi-finalist at CineQuest, gained honorable mention in the Finnish line script competition, and achieved second stage consideration for the Netflix Breakout Initiative for up-and-coming film directors. Wow, Annabelle! And on top of that, let me just put in there that you also had two children and you decided to move to Copenhagen. So tell us everything.
oh my God, where do I begin? Well, first of all, I didn't choose to move to Copenhagen. It was never on my agenda. Basically, my husband got a job offer here that he couldn't refuse. And we were like, okay, I was halfway through my second maternity year. And we were like, okay, we don't want to be in London raising two children. We don't quite know where it is that we do want to be, but this is an opportunity to go to a really cool city, to a country that's really oriented towards family living. And let's just go on an adventure. So I feel like I've just landed here like an alien and I'm still kind of coming up for air because the children have only just gone into nursery and they're out of my hands. And now I'm kind of picking up where I left off with the short film, the short film awards and the feature film script awards and thinking what on earth am I doing next?
Absolutely. Wow, what a whirlwind. Let's
Yeah.
but also so exciting and so courageous and just, everything for me, everything I know about you, this just fits right in. Even though it must be so difficult. It must be so difficult to sit there and be like, we have no idea exactly, but also just so beautiful and inspiring that you jumped on that chance, absolutely
Yeah.
wonderful. But let's start at the beginning. So let's take you back in time. Miss Gorgeous Annabel Kutay, where were you born? Into what kind of family system? How did you grow up? Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, so I was born in Manchester. My mum is English. She was a hairdresser, but then she stopped working to bring us up, me and my little sister, who's 4 years younger than me. My dad's Turkish, and my parents met he was a student at the time, um, and fell in love and got married. They're very, very different personalities, but were very complementary for the time that they were married. My mum's kind of very funny, a bit wild. She's got like this shock of big blonde hair, and she's all about the fashion and the hairstyle. And she's a very interesting and creative person. And then my dad is kind of creative in a different way, but then very, very business minded. He kind of um, built a business from the ground up as an immigrant and um, built an amazing property empire in Manchester. It was always his kind of goal and dream. He had this, he held like private British education in such high esteem, and it was always his intention to put me and my sister through private education for the entirety of our education, and he did that. And now, as a grown up, I'm like, wow, he worked so incredibly hard to do that and to provide that education for us. And it wasn't something, he hadn't come from money. He built everything that he had himself, and had this incredible work ethic, and made it happen. Um, he was also like very strict and quite overprotective as far as parents go. But the two of them, yeah, they were really complementary as parents, and I really admire the way that they raised us, actually, me and my sister.
Oh my God, I love this. And it's for me personally, it's so wonderful to sit here and listen to the beginning of the becoming of the Annabelle that I met. And I just want to mention how we met. So
Yeah.
the first time I remember meeting you, and correct me if I'm wrong, it was in Milan. So it was in Italy.
Yeah.
And we had we had both gotten the job. I'm laughing my head off. As the legs of Golden Lady. So we were sitting. So anyway, for listeners out there, Annabelle and I, we met on this TV commercial shoot in Milan, and it was actually quite hot weather. And
Yeah.
and I remember particularly having a conversation with you, and I feel like we got body painted. I feel like we were black, so you could only see the legs, right?
Yeah. 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 It was
So
really bizarre.
So we were sitting in these random tights, random colored tights, high heels, out in the sunshine, completely black, whatever else of skin was exposed was black. And that's how I remember meeting you. And we had a conversation because we both came from London and we both came from ballet. And I remember sitting there and realizing our connection, this kind of common ground, but
Yeah.
having never really seen your face.
No, no.
It's like being in church and like testifying. So anyway, so now proper understanding your background, and not just in terms of ballet, but also your family set up, so beautiful to hear. And the love and the respect and the this beautiful tenderness you have when you talk about your parents and your upbringing is really wonderful to witness. So then, I'm going to take you forward in time a little bit.
Yeah.
How did dance come into your life?
Um, just like the majority of young girls, I was going to dance class from being about 3 years old. Um, and then I changed to a different dance school. I'm not entirely sure why, but I remember um, I was sitting on the floor in this dance studio, and the dance teacher, the owner of the school, kind of beckoned my mother over, and she pointed down, and she went, "Look." And I was just sitting with my legs in like a frog position like this, and my
Mm.
knees were touching the floor, and she went, "Look." My mum was like, "What?" "She's got flat turnout."
Oh,
Rotated as such that I had this natural capacity, but also I loved to dance, and I had a certain like natural affinity with the music, and I guess a natural grace, and I don't know where that came from. Me and my mum argue a lot about nature and nurture. And I really think that I don't think that you're born with natural talents. I think that they progress, And my mum's very much like, "No, you were born with this. This is your destiny." But yeah, I don't know. I disagree. But anyway, I this teacher really took me under her wing, and before I knew it, I was auditioning for Royal Ballet Junior Associates, and I got into that. And I was very kind of haphazard about the dance training that I did as a child. I wasn't like really into it. I didn't go every day. I didn't have that level of dedication, but I just went once a week up until being 16. That just continued, and then going to Royal Ballet Junior Associates, and then later I did Erdang Senior Associates. But it was all very, very casual up until being 16, when everyone was deciding what they wanted to do. And I was like, yeah, I think I want to be a dancer. Yeah, just really casually. And it was just very, very lucky that my natural facility allowed me to somehow get a place at Northern Ballet School, because it wasn't hard work up until then. It was just I was coasting, and that's where I ended. But I had a I had a tough time when I actually finally got into a full-time vocational school, because I was bottom of the class, and I really had to graft. Those 3 years really were the making of me, I think.
Wow, amazing. And that means because I didn't know that. I don't remember that part. So this is so interesting. So that means when you and I met, it must have been just a couple of years after that, like maybe 2 years or something. Would you have been in your early 20s? Or like,
Yeah, so I started training at 16 full
yeah.
time, graduated at 19. I must have been about 21, 22, maybe, when we did that job.
Yeah. Yeah, no, no, just makes complete sense. And it's funny because obviously, I don't know if you remember, but my background was very different because I started out at the Royal Danish Ballet in Copenhagen, and you know, my parents never wanted me to audition at all. I had to beg for 3 years. Like my ballet teacher was like, "You should take this woman or this girl," and my parents were like, "Absolutely not." And I was like, "Please, please." And after 3 years of begging, I was allowed to audition, and my mom was like, "But if you don't get in, we will never try again." Because she was hoping I wouldn't get in, right? She was like, "So many kids audition, she's not gonna make it, and then that dream is boom, you know, and we can get onwards, and Josie can have a nice life, and it won't be hard, and she'll have feet that work, and all of that." Anyway, so from my side, when you and I had met, for me, I had taken it like extremely serious. It was like, this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
Spent 7 years there, and then in the end, you know, long story short, for whatever reasons, I decided to leave that place and jump across to London, where I then studied contemporary dance. So it was a different setup because you were just, you know, like you said, you had this natural ability, and you were like, well, let's see how it goes. Maybe I'll do this thing. Like I'm sitting here going, oh, you were so relaxed about it. How incredible. Where I was like, oh, I must leave my home country to go and do this thing. Amazing. Back to you. I want to know everything. So this is a fun common ground and yet very different approach. So then there you were at Northern Ballet. You had left. You and I bump into each other in Italy. And at this point, you've started coming into the commercial world, right? So you're there, you're modeling, you're dancing. Talk to
Yeah, so
us.
I when I graduated from Northern Ballet School, I got a job in the West End, like straight into the West End in Phantom of the Opera, and I was there for 2 years. But it was a really tough time. It was the first time I'd lived away from home, and also all the rest of the girls in that company, they were all like in their late 20s, they were all like turning 30. They'd been in this show for years and years and years. So I was like the young one, really annoying. I acknowledge that now. I kind of think I knew I was annoying at the time, but I didn't really bond with them.
Yeah.
It was amazing because I was living the dream. But then, kind of outside of that, I was mixing with fashion crowds, and I had a lovely model boyfriend, and kind of started dipping my toe in some of the model castings and commercial castings. And it's kind of luckily, but it was kind of a failure as well, that I didn't get my contract renewed. And I thought it was just the end of the world because it was my first job. But now when I look back, I'm like, that just opened me up to a whole new realm of possibility. So all of a sudden, I was booking commercials and doing music videos and adverts and backing dancing. and I was still auditioning for the musicals and dance projects as well. But it just, yeah, it opened my eyes to all the ways in which I could earn money.
Oh yes, can we, and and I'm so happy you touched upon that, right? Because I think so often, whether we're talking, whether I'm talking to people that are artists like yourself, or people that have different careers, so often we forget, we neglect to talk about the finances, right?
Yeah.
But without finances, nothing can work. The baseline has to be there. So I love that you were like, well, anything that will give me some money, right? Which was within reason, within the genre of the arts. Yes.
Yeah. And I think I really landed on my feet in Phantom of the Opera because I was earning, well, it was the first time I've ever earned any money anyway. But back then, this is like 2003, I think my rent was £80 a week or something in East London. So I saved an enormous amount of money from that, but I was earning really well. And then I remember the first commercial that I booked um, was a £10,000 buyout. And I was like, okay, this is what I need to do to sustain me during, the periods when I'm auditioning, because if I just get a few of those a year, 4 or 5, then everything else is just so easy. I can pick and choose, and it doesn't feel like a stress or a rush. And that's exactly what I did. I that was my bread and butter money, the adverts.
Absolutely amazing. And thank you so much for sharing that, because I think it's, like I said, it's something we can easily skip over. And like I just mentioned, if you don't have a secure base, it doesn't have to be super luxurious, but if that part isn't taken care of, how could you possibly pursue anything else,
Yeah.
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 No, thank you for sharing that. So at what point did you start going more into acting?
Um, it was always in my mind
Mm.
that I wanted to work in film. And I kind of wish I'd started pursuing the training side of it early on when I was in Phantom of the Opera for 2 years. I should have started from then. There's a few things that I wish I'd done back then when I was 19. Number one, I wish I'd bought a property back then with that money that I had sitting in my bank account. Number two, I wish I'd started creating things, creating my own work from scratch back then. I don't know, even if it had been like choreographically, I wish I'd done that then. And the third thing is I wish I'd started training as an actor during the day back then. So they're actually three of my biggest regrets. But as it panned out, it's all worked out fine. I just wish I'd done everything sooner. But I didn't start doing my acting training till about 2011, and I was in Dirty Dancing at the time. And by this point, I'd really established myself as a dancer. I was doing really well, but my heart was elsewhere. So I was performing in Dirty Dancing in the evening, and then I started doing acting classes throughout the day, which was just exhausting.
Mm.
But I'm glad I took the opportunity to do that, because a few years later down the line, I got my first film role. I think, when was it? 2014, I got my first film role. And it was such a nice transitional moment because it was like a cheesy American dance film. So it still utilized those dance skills, but it was my first moment with, a really substantial role on film.
Absolutely wonderful. And I'm just sitting here like, just it's so interesting for me to hear. And I also think for listeners out there to think that you're sitting here now, right? And we don't have, you can share your age or not, but at this moment in time, you're still so young. And then you're sitting here going, oh, these are the things that I regret, these three things, not just one, these three things that I'm very aware of
Yeah.
That I really wish I had started at the ripe age of 19, where most 19 years old, don't know who they are, what they want to do, where they live, what is right, what is left. And so, obviously no judgment from my side. I find you fascinating. Because obviously there's that thing of, of course, I can see from from the perspective of just growth in life, and that whole thing of, you own an apartment, so do I, or a house, right? And of course, we both know, yes, if we had, if our parents had bought it when we were born,
Yeah, yeah.
I can understand that. But there's also that thing of, until we've lived life, we don't really know what we want or who we are, or what actually makes sense to us. And it's just that thing of, as much as we would love to, force the process or make it quicker, right? Or even go back in time and change it all over. You would not be who you are. I would not be who I am if XYZ hadn't happened. But I still find it so interesting that you're like, this would have worked great in the overall lifespan of Anabel Kutay, who's still so young.
Well, no, I'm 43 now. But yeah, I just feel like, I was enjoying myself
Mm,
as like a 19-year-old and 20-year-old should.
mm,
But I think actually it's more something that I wish maybe my parents had been like, oh, maybe you should consider investing all this money in property. Or
mm.
I know that as a mother now, I would definitely say to my children, if they had an opportunity like that, do you think you should do? Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's beneficial that they kind of left me to figure things out for myself, um or not. I'm not sure.
Who knows? But I can totally get that thing of, and also we usually want to do the opposite of what we experienced, right? So it's that thing of, on one hand, they gave you ultimate freedom, hooray! And then on the flip side, it's like you said, oh, actually, if I had had someone who perhaps had been slightly more pushy, a bit more, provided a bit more clear guidance on how to invest some of that financial abundance you were going through at that time, I can really understand that, which
I
is
mean, it worked out fine. I've got a beautiful house in South London now, and it's a great investment. Um, but yeah, it really took me a long time to get there.
absolute. Oh, okay. Welcome to the club. High fives. It took me 20 years to buy my first flat, right? 20
Yeah,
years. And I will say, I've loved to, I thought we're talking about your career, and we're like, let's talk about money. But
yeah.
but it's such an important thing. And for me, again, same thing as you, self-employed, freelancer by choice, yes, but
Mhm.
still. Um, and I think for listeners out there, everyone can relate to knowing your own world. You know your universe, and you feel confident in your universe. Whether that's whether you are a painter, whether you work in a kindergarten, you're a teacher, whatever you do, you know that universe, right? And you feel safe and secure, and you know the rules of that universe, and you know the roles.
Yeah.
And then you want to step outside of that. And so for me, stepping outside of that was like understanding not just mortgages, but eligibility, and understanding, and also understanding that even though I had spoken to several people, for some reason, they all happened to be men. And I love men, nothing wrong with a man. It depends
Mm.
on the man. And most of them were always like, oh, little Miss McGrail. Oh. Um, you know, they never looked at my situation was like, oh, here's a possibility. Yes.
Yeah.
So, like then, it took me 20 years until I started to study the shit out of this. And I was like, there's got to be a loan that makes sense for me. And it was called buy to let. Hooray for listeners out there. It's that thing where if you have a lot of savings, but your net profit per year might not be high, but your savings are high, buy to let
Yeah.
might just be the thing for you. So my point was, whatever it is, just because you're walking into an unknown world, if you really want it, you will get there. But yeah, in my instance, it took 20 years. So I can relate.
Yeah. And now I feel very, very emotionally attached to, well, I had a flat first, but now I feel very attached to the house because for me, that's like it feels like the trophy that I received after my dance career. I feel like that was like the big win, the thing that I got.
No, I really get it. And it's also, it's tangible, it's practical, and it's something you can touch. And, you know, it's the first thing you see when you wake up, it's the last thing you see when you close your eyes. And also, as an artist, or as anyone listening, life is forever changing, right? And if you know you've lived the life of 1,000 different women, you've had lots of different jobs, lots of different work, lots of different, you know, going from this industry to a same industry but slightly different branch of it, right?
Yeah.
And to have something that's kind of an anchor, like you said, a reward, like a, oh, but you know, this was consistent and this was worth everything, and you know, something
Yeah.
that kind of
Yeah.
yeah, give it a container.
Yeah, sure.
Makes sense. Oh, Annabelle, so talk to us. All of a sudden, these gorgeous children arrived in your life. So there you were thinking, now acting it is. And then what happened?
Yeah. So COVID happened, and that kind of, well, the theatre industry was gone for 18 months,
Mm,
which was kind of a blessing because I had kind of taken a step away from it, but I always knew it was there to go back to, and then it was not there. So it was kind of a blessing and a curse. At the same time, in the run up to COVID, my film career was on a very nice trajectory. Yeah, and I signed with a top corporate, one of the big corporate acting agents, and I was like, this has been my goal for a really long time. And what followed was nothing, absolutely nothing. It was the worst business decision of my life. I thought it was a moment, and all of a sudden, the auditions that I was getting were absolutely huge. I was like, okay, every audition I get is like the possibility is just so there within grasp. But then during COVID, because all of a sudden we found that, you know, the people with huge profile were taking smaller and smaller parts, it kind of obliterated the up and coming actors at that time, and especially being in that big corporate acting agency. So it really, really did not work out well. Or did it? I'm not sure, because it made me start to write. I thought, you know what? The film industry is not like the dance industry. You walk into a dance audition, you do the best dance audition you can possibly do. There's no denying your talent, and it feels like a more seamless and easy process getting into dance companies, getting into musicals. With film, it's just like a completely different animal. And I feel like there's so much more involved. Nepotism, who you know, favoritism, if you've used your sexual currency. There's a whole load of underlying politics that are kind of woven in there, and I just felt like I don't want to be a part of this. If I'm going to make it in this industry, if I'm going to make anything for myself, I have to create it and I have to own it. And that's when I started writing, and I made the first couple of short films.
absolutely wonderful. And I just, yeah, I know I can't actually grasp you right now and give you a hug, but I wish I could through the screen, because I really, 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 really can relate to that thing of going, you know what you want to do, and then, so one thing is dreaming, and then there's, making the actionable steps to making that dream a reality, and then there are the curveballs where all of a sudden it's like, oh, life was not supposed to give me COVID. That's not on the agenda.
Yeah.
And also the, oh, actually, I thought, just the reality check of like, fantastic getting into this amazing acting agency, but actually it didn't give you the fruits on the fruit trees you thought it was going to give, right?
Yeah.
And instead it gave you, nothing, right?
Uh,
But again, having the ability, you know, the bravery, and also just the guts to sit oneself down and go, well, this isn't working, right? This isn't working. And you didn't just go, well, fuck acting, okay, let me create something myself. And even again, complete unknown, didn't know how it was going to go, didn't know if, you would be, well, obviously you know yourself, but you still don't know what you would create, what you would write, if other people would be on board with it, or if you would have to really persuade them. There's so many unknown factors there. So you started writing during COVID?
I think it was in 2019.
Yeah.
I actually managed to film the first short film just before the COVID lockdown happened.
Amazing.
So I had it in the bag, and then I had some things to work on during. But yeah, it was definitely a everything happens for a reason moment. The thing is, I didn't walk away from the agent. I stuck with it. I just kept on trying to fit a square peg in a round hole for about 4 years. 4 or 5 years, I was just slogging, going, like, just trying to make it work, because I was like, no, this is my destiny. This is the way it's meant to go. You get your first film roles, you build up a career, you're on a trajectory, you sign with a big agent, then the big thing comes. I was like, no, this is right. This is it. This is it. This is it. And it actually took for the agent to drop me. And she dropped me at the most horrific time you could possibly think to drop someone. 4 weeks after I'd given birth to my first child. And I was like, okay, you had a long time to make this move. You had like 4.5 years to be like, okay, this isn't working. Let's cut ties. By which time I've been like, yeah, it's kind of good that my career's slowed down, because I would never in a million years have decided to have a child. I wouldn't have stopped to think about it. So I'm kind of glad that, I didn't carry on that trajectory, because it would have just been a whirlwind, and I would have missed an opportunity to have a child, because my fertility, as it happens, was not good. So I really got in there at the final moment. But yeah, she dropped me, and then the next day she had to phone me back with a job offer for
Oh my
something that I
God.
did before. So this was cringe. Her reason for dropping me, she said, the industry's just not looking for you, which I read into. I read into it. I read deep into that. But yeah, the next day she had to phone me and offer me Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power, the TV series, that I was then working on for the next 4 months. Yeah, she pocketed that commission, which was tough. But yeah, it made me realize that although I've kind of been punched in the gut, there's still life left in my career, and I should keep on going. I am on the right track. And I had an amazing time on that. It was crazy. It was like I think it's the most expensive TV series ever made in the UK. And just, yeah, the amount of money that they threw at it, the attention to detail, the set, the costume, everything from, like, we were given movement director, accent coach. Yeah, it was a really amazing experience.
I mean, just beautiful, powerful, brutal, crazy. Um, I just want to share, because I did watch your acting show reel, and I did see that beautiful scene, that you have, that, where you showcase the Lord of the Rings. And I have to say, in your whole acting show reel, there's two things that stood out. Obviously, your incredible beauty, your amazing skill, all of that good stuff. Then there's a lot of blood. I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure every scene has blood.
All a bit dark. Yeah.
There's lots of blood and there's lots of little bit of sexual tension there in quite a few of them as well.
Yeah.
which and which leads me on to an interesting thing, because again, only because of I know you're short on time today, so as much as I want to dive deep into the how could she possibly drop you like that? But going back, I just wanted to ask because your first short film, it's a horror, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Talk to us. So there you are in your acting show reel. There's blood, there's stuff, and then you decide, you decide to do
Yeah.
a horror. Why horror? I love this. I did not know this about you, Annabelle.
I do love horror films. I like really, really scary horror films. But the genre that I tend to write is comedy. Stay with me. Comedy, um, but with like a dark undertone and a humor. Comedy horror. I love comedy horror, and that's what I've been writing. And I'm writing a feature film at the moment that I'm going to be making, hopefully going to be starting to film this summer. And yeah, it's a dark comedy horror about becoming a mother and and how and honestly, some days I'm like, this is just absolutely awful, but it's like the most rewarding horror film I've ever been a part of
Okay, so
about it. But yeah, I always seem to play like baddies or I don't know, something, the bad guy or something a little bit sinister or something a little bit sexy but a bit weird. And and yeah, I do enjoy playing those parts and I do enjoy writing those parts as well.
yeah, but I'm sitting here with a million questions, way more questions than we actually have time for today. But I just when I read that thing that the horror, I was like, okay, this is another wonderful fact that I didn't know about Annabelle. But I have to say,
Actually,
but now that you're saying comedy horror,
yeah, a bit of a dark, twisted, and I think yeah, my mum has like quite a dark comedy, dark humor to her. I think it's just something that I don't know. I've been brought up with quite a twisted sense of humor.
but I love it.
They're the films that I really like to watch, the kind of things that are a little bit edgy.
But I'm so fascinated by you because now I'm also sitting here and you're like, so you've moved to Copenhagen, my home city, right? And as I'm sure you know, so the Danes are known for their dark humor, and and right, so my family, always known for our dark humor, and it's always equal dark, equal light. So as much as it's super dark, it's the opportunity for the completely greatest big laugh. But
Yeah.
I've never heard anyone else describe, I make horrors, horror comedy. I was like, not sort of like slapstick comedy, but like but your thing, horror comedy. So will you tell us a little bit more about your upcoming movie? Because I just love this fact. So I'm sitting here going, last time I saw you, you weren't even sure you wanted kids. Now you have two kids and now you're making a horror movie about it. So talk to us.
Yeah, I just think I think it's coming from that place of not being sure that I wanted children in the first place. I feel like I see parenthood through quite a different lens. I'm very much like I'm not the kind of person who, as much as obviously I give my everything to my children, to a point. Like I don't want to ever feel like they're preventing me or holding me back from doing anything. So I think it's important to kind of set boundaries. And at the moment, I'm really trying to teach my 3-year-old that when mummy's having a conversation, we have to wait for a moment and then I'll see you and I love you and I see you and I'll speak to you when I've come to the end of this sentence because I don't want to be the parent that kind of I don't want to forget who I am and yeah not allow myself the life that I want to have, and I don't want to prevent myself from doing the things that I want to do or achieving the things that I want to do just because I've had children. So I feel really aware of that. And for that reason, I feel like I'm not looking at the experience of parenthood through rose-tinted glasses. When both the children are screaming and crying at the same time, and I'm like, I don't know, I don't even know what to do. Like, I don't know who to deal with first. I find that funny, but I also find it terrifying. And I'm like, this is just a horror movie to me. That's just how I see, how I see parenting. So yeah, I feel like I just wanted to lean into those experiences and show parenthood for the absolutely monstrous, brilliant thing that it is, because it is horrendous, but it is amazing. So
I've
that's what the film's about.
I mean, I'm just sitting here on the edge of my seat, as we would say, or in Danish we would call it, I'm sitting here on the tips of my toes. It means that I'm kind of like ready to leap forward into watching your movie. I think it sounds absolutely crazy, bonkers, and so human.
Yeah.
Exactly the human experience that, and again, because it's exactly the same reason, you and I spoke quite a few times at castings about this whole parenthood stuff. And I was always just like, I love children. Like I love human beings, not all, sending love to everyone. Don't want to hang out with everyone.
Yeah.
But exactly the same thing as you, just this whole like, you'll have children and your life will be fulfilled and everything is wonderful. And, the fairies comes down and I'm like,
Yeah,
so
exactly.
this thing where you're looking from one to the other and you're like, shit, who do I deal with first? And then, so to make the most human experience expressed onto the film screen, I can't wait to see it. It's going to be absolutely wonderful. And so many mums, not just mums, but even, those of us that don't have children, I myself yet, who knows, can relate because
Yeah.
that is my idea of,
Yeah.
you know oh yeah, so okay, so here we are. Where are you at with this process at the moment? Because I remember in your bio you said something about your workshopping at the moment. Where are you at?
Oh, no, I'm about to do a workshop for a play,
Okay, oh sorry.
which is also a dark kind of horror stuff. Um, I basically, yeah, I've got my team on board to make this film. And now I just need to write it as quick as I possibly can. So that's what I've been doing all day, essentially. It's just my aim to get to the end of this script as soon as possible so we can just start shooting it.
I love it, Annabelle. And can
Aiming for like August, September. So it's going to be a quick turnaround.
now can I ask you, are you going to set it in Copenhagen, literally the home of sweet mamas, or where are you, what are you doing?
Well, actually, I don't think it's really going to, I don't think I'm even going to delve into where it is.
Oh,
I'm
I
just
love it.
it's going to be in one location. So, yeah, it's going to be quite ambiguous.
Perfect. So everyone can relate.
Yeah.
Amazing. Will you talk us through a little bit of your processing? So when you write, are you someone who's like you've set aside your time, now you sit down and you get creative? Are you just, because again, you are a mother, right? And you're also a human being. And, how do you create time for it? Are you super structured? What's your thing?
Uh, yeah, I've had to be this time. In the past, I've like really indulged in it. My last job before I had the most recent baby, I got commissioned to write and direct a play at Mount View, drama school in London. So that kind of I had like a really limited amount of time I had to, you know, get this piece made and on its feet. So it's made me sharper. And I think having children has made me sharper as well because I have to fit in when the baby naps for 2 hours during the day. That's when I have to fit in any work that I need to do, not just writing, but any admin stuff. So now, now that the children are out of the way and in nursery, I set my alarm for like to go off every hour throughout the day, and I'll write solidly on one project. Then when the alarm goes off, I switch and write on something else because there's quite a few things that I'm writing on at the moment. There's a play that I'm working on with a director in the UK. There's my own film, and then there's another play. So I kind of have to switch between everything per hour. But as far as the film's concerned, I write down the structure of everything that's going to happen within the film into beats. So that's done. And now I'm just kind of filling in the gaps and filling in the scenes. So I'm halfway through today,
I love it.
aiming to be finished with the rest of it in 2 weeks. That's the
Amazing.
goal.
No, I love that. And I think again, again for listeners out there, because so often I think people have this idea that as an artist of any kind, you're just this, ever creative person that just like randomly when the inspiration is there, rambles something down, right? But the structure, just like the money, has to be there, right?
Well, I've realized, oh my gosh, I don't even know where I was going to go with that.
That's all right. Anyway,
Go next,
moving on, upwards and
next door.
upwards. I want to ask you, gorgeous Annabelle. So, in terms of character, not even research, but character development, character also, who are you drawn to? How do you find inspiration? Is it a little bit of everyday life? Is it things from your own life? Are there specific, are there specific movies, directors that you tend to watch a lot? Like, what's your, yeah.
I try not to be too influenced by other directors and films, actually. And this kind of relates to the way that I approached my dance career as well, was that I didn't really know much about dance apart from that I could do it. I didn't know about the history of dance. I remember asking a friend of mine in college, like someone was talking about something Fosse this. I was like, what's Fosse? Just had no idea. I kind of like that level of naivety because then it kind of leaves you open to be inspired by anything. So at the moment, oh, that's what I was gonna say before actually. I've realized that the process of writing, you don't actually need to be sat at a computer typing away. It's actually the best ideas, the best inspiration I come up with is when I'm like walking around the city or doing an exercise class, and then I'm like, oh my God, I'm a genius, and I have to write it down on my phone. Um, and then eventually I've got like a whole list of notes that becomes a film or an idea or a play or something. So I
Okay.
think, yeah, the process of writing, it's not actually sitting down at writing. The majority of it is what's going on in your head and thinking up the story away from the computer.
Okay, so this is so interesting because again it relates to movement and is exactly the same thing for me. So I've written 3 books. None of them was me sitting down at a desk ever. I tried it for the first book and actually I did the first one during COVID and I hated it. I was, this whole I can sit down at a screen when there's someone on the other side like you and me. We're using the screen as a bridge to connect. If we could sit next to each other, we would. You know what I mean? Otherwise, my 2 other books are literally written whilst out and about. The same thing as you. I'll be walking down the street and then I'm like, oh, and I love how you said it's the same epiphany moment I have where I'm like, oh, it has arrived.
Exactly.
I absolutely love this. Um, Now back to you. So here you are in Copenhagen. Just want to have a little side note about the Copenhagen experience. You guys arrived in the mist, in the thick of winter, right? Am I right? I
Yeah.
remember seeing on Facebook, I was like, oh no, they're arriving in such cold weather.
Yeah. It was right in the middle of the snowstorm, but it was so beautiful because I know the snowstorm, that's kind of not usual for Copenhagen, is it? It was like a meter of snow on the ground everywhere. And the delivery, the guys that had transported our stuff had literally just emptied the boxes all over the apartment. So it was kind of good that we didn't go outside for the first few weeks. I was just trapped in this absolutely beautiful apartment that we managed to find, unpacking all of our worldly goods while it just raged with a snowstorm outside. And then all of a sudden it just melted and it was spring. It was beautiful. It just felt like yeah, a new start. It was the best spring. I think it's the best spring I've ever had actually, because it just felt so, yeah, like I was emerging into something so new.
Oh my God, this is so beautiful, Annabelle. I really love it. And in Copenhagen, have you found, I mean, so how long have you guys been there now?
So we came at the end of January.
Okay, so quite a few months.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
have you found friends there yet? How is this?
Yeah. I feel like it's invigorated me and made me realize that I'm really good at something that I never knew I was good at. And it's just connecting with people. I don't have a fear of just getting chatting to someone in the playground. Actually, having the children really helped. So I've met a lot of other mothers who've been connected by like I've been connected by friends of friends who have said, "Oh, I've got so and so who lives in Copenhagen. You must get in touch." And ordinarily, I'd probably be like, "Nah," but actually, I have, and I've had a load of really good first friend dates with people that I'd probably normally find a bit weird and awkward, but I've just loved it so much. Just getting to know people as like a blind date and not even knowing what they look like and being like, are you so and so? It's been wonderful. And the other thing is, I feel like I've got such a holiday. I don't know if it's like a holiday vibe or I don't give a fuck attitude. I'll just go and knock on doors. So I was taking my baby out for a walk, and the older one was in nursery, and he sleeps midday. I'm like, give him a bottle, he'll be asleep in the buggy, and then I can just walk around and enjoy the day. And he'd just fallen asleep, and I was like, oh, is that a casting studio? And I was like, oh, fuck it. So I went and knocked on the door because I could see them all having coffee right there in the front of the studio. And they were like, oh, hey, come in. So I told them that I was an actress, and they were like, sure you are. And they gradually realized that I was legitimate. And it turns out that they were casting for a 40-year-old English speaking woman to play a journalist in a Lego commercial. And I was like, great. Can I tape for that? They were like, yeah. So I did the tape the next day, booked it. And that was my first job in Copenhagen and my first job back from being a baby. The most Danish brand you could possibly imagine. Lego.
What an absolutely wonderful experience. And again, just on all accounts, just shows that, you know, who you are is not dependent on where you are. Wherever you are, there you are.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Because I really get that. Because again, as a self-employed freelancing person, you know, I too have had amazing dreams of living here and there and everywhere. And remember, London is my second country, right? So, Carl and I, my fiance, we went to Bangkok for a month this year. And my biggest thing was like, oh, how am I going to feel a whole month there? Because he would be working all the time. And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
Bangkok. So we went to Bangkok
Oh,
for a
right.
month, but we weren't really there on holiday as such. And I was worried that I would get really bored. I love what I do. And anyway, I decided to create a whole online program, having never ever created one before. I was like, hi! And it wasn't yoga. It wasn't anything physical. Essentially, I created this guided visualization, meditation, sort of very spiritual thing. But anyway, had an absolute most amazing time, reached out to Soho House. They were like, yes, we want you to come and do an event. So I did an event at Soho House in Bangkok, but it was more that same thing as you, like, just that realization of who you are, you know, it's not dependent on where you are. And of course, there are places that, you are still in a city. We're not in the countryside, but to have that sense of groundedness within yourself, in that sense of, I won't even just call it confidence, but you're out there with your, with your little one, and you're like, oh, that looks like my kind of environment. That looks like my kind of people. And I love that you were like, yeah, for a minute they were like, is she really? And you just kept going. You were like, yes, yes, this is who I am. Because of course, this is who you are. So absolutely beautiful, right? Because it's that thing of, circumstances, opportunities will meet you halfway, but you have to reach the arm out. You can't just, most people would have not even dared to go in. And then if they dared to go in, once, if they felt like a strange vibe of like people going like, well, is she really who she is? They might have turned around and you just kept going. I love it. And then the fact that of course they needed exactly you and they just didn't realize.
So bizarre. So yeah, I felt really proud of that, and it's really made me realize that I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to replicate that exact scenario, but knocking on doors and making those opportunities. So as an example, when I was on set with that advert, there was literally no person in the cast and crew that I did not know by the end of the day. I spoke to everybody. And then a few days later, I had a meeting with with the producers because I'm like, hey, I'm writing, I'm directing. I haven't made any commercials yet, but actually that's not something that I've even explored. So that's another thing that I'm doing at the moment. I'm making a spec commercial to go on my to go on my director's show reel, because then I can go back to them and be like, hey, I've made a commercial now. What else? What can I do? What can I do for you?
Absolutely. I loved it. And you know what? And again, for listeners out there, I always like to keep everything relevant to people that are not in the arts industry. But
Yeah.
this is a really relevant life skill because again, you know, the longer we've been on this planet for, and the longer we've done the same thing for, the longer we've been in the same area of life, the easier it is to kind of go like, oh, but I don't go outside my own universe, right? And so it's this thing of, like you said, okay, so you found yourself in a new city. And yes, of course, if you want to make new connections, you want to have new opportunities, you will have to walk around and open yourself up, right? And like you said, knocking on doors. But so often in life, unless you literally force yourself out of your environment or life forces you out of the environment, it can feel, almost like it can feel like you're going back in time. It can feel like a big thing to have to do that, to be like, oh yeah, this is who I am. I can do this. So I loved it. You're sitting there going, actually, I feel rejuvenated being in this new city because you're having an opportunity to reinvent yourself. And like you
Mhm.
said, okay, I'm going to do this thing and then go, oh, what else can I do? What else do you have for me?
Mhm. Yeah,
Really
so we'll
amazing.
see. The answer might be nothing, but I'm trying.
100%, Annabelle. And also like knowing you, because I think this is always great in life, is to look back over one shoulder and to go, well, because of who you are and your amazing nature, the amazing force of nature that you are, you will always find a way. You will always reinvent something new.
Mhm.
Absolutely wonderful. And I will come and visit you in Copenhagen. Absolutely. I have a question that I always ask my gorgeous guests, and that is, when you look back over your life with everything that either you said yes to or no to, everything you walked towards, everything you walked away from, all the doors that were closed only for many other doors to open, if you had just one or two soul messages for humanity, what would it be?
Soul messages. Um, I do really believe in the power of manifestation. And I think that I've lost that over the last few years for myself. But it's something that I always come back to, really seeing and visualizing the things that you desire, um, and then taking active steps towards those things, whatever it may be, whether it's to do with love or career or, you know, I think that's the thing that I carry with me mostly.
I absolutely love that. And I know you said you feel like you've lost it and you're regaining it, and but I think as an outside perspective, someone who has been in and out of your life for many years, in the periphery, I think you've always been a symbol of the ultimate manifester, goddess, creatrix. Yeah, I think you're a ray of light, Annabelle, and it's been such a joy to be here with you today, and I look forward to seeing you in Copenhagen. My love, where can people find you? So if people want to reach out to you, I have still quite a few friends in the gorgeous industries of the arts in Copenhagen. Where can people find you? I will put it in the show notes as well, but do say it now as well.
The best place is Instagram for me, actually, at Anabel Kutay.
Amazing, thank you. Okay, fantastic. Well,
good to speak to you.
I know, so good to speak to you too. Please stay on the line. That's fine.
The brats have just arrived.
Oh yes. Well, they're also fueling your new movie, right? So we send them love. Thank you so much, Annabelle. If you can just stay on the line for 1 second, but to listeners out there, thank you so much.